The Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force. This is a new government UFO program, or maybe it's not all that new, or maybe it doesn't exist at all. I'm Jason, and today we're taking a quick look at the recently revealed UAP Task Force. We heard mentions of some new task force related to UFOs back in May of 2020, when researcher John Greenwald brought attention to statements obtained by writer Roger Glassell from Department of Defense spokesperson Susan Gao, who stated the investigation of UAP sightings by the Multi-Agency Task Force is ongoing. Multi-agency meaning the DoD and the US Navy. That was really the first realization of a current UFO task force. Then, we got a name to go along with this mysterious task force. A draft of the Intelligence Authorization Act for fiscal year 2021 was submitted by Senator Marco Rubio on June 17th on behalf of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. Within the committee comments was a section titled Advanced Aerial Threats, and this essentially detailed a request for a report to be assembled to provide a summary of the current UFO situation by the Director of National Intelligence in consultation with the Secretary of Defense and other relevant parties. And that information is supposed to come from a few different sources, including the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force. Cool, we have evidence that there's something called the UAP Task Force. But like most things with UFOs, especially things related to UFOs in the government, the information we have about this task force is limited, confusing, and a bit wonky. First, we don't really know if the UAP Task Force is actually a thing yet. The comments in the Intelligence Authorization Act state that the committee supports the efforts of the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force. The report being requested specifically asks for a detailed analysis of unidentified aerial phenomena data and intelligence reporting collected or held by the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force. It's kind of hard to support efforts of something that doesn't exist yet, and there wouldn't be any data to collect from a group that hasn't started collecting data yet. An article published in the New York Times on July 23, 2020, also makes it sound like the UAP Task Force is something that already exists. The article reports that the UAP Task Force is the continuation of the Pentagon's previously revealed UFO program, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP, which reportedly ended in 2012. And the Times says that the program never lapsed. The article even states that Luis Elizondo, ATIP's former head, confirmed that the new task force evolved from the Advanced Aerospace Program. So here we have more indications that the UAP Task Force already exists and has, potentially, for years. Luis Elizondo currently serves as the Director of Government Programs and Services at To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science, or TTSA. And TTSA issued a press release back on June 24th stating that the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence introduced a bill for 2021 that includes an official public request for a UAP task force. This makes it sound like the UAP task force doesn't exist yet. TTSA restated this on an episode of the company's podcast, again calling the Intelligence Authorization Act for 2021 a public request for a UAP task force. Confused yet? I am. It gets better. Or maybe worse. Pentagon spokesperson Susan Gao issued a statement to Popular Mechanics and other journalists stating that the Department of Defense is creating a task force to gain knowledge and insight into the nature and origin of UAPs, as well as their operations, capabilities, performance, and/or signatures. This clearly and plainly states that a UAP task force is being created. It doesn't exist yet. But we gained some additional details from this statement from Susan Gao. She added that the mission of the task force will be to detect, analyze, catalog, consolidate, and exploit non-traditional aerospace vehicles / UAPs posing an operational threat to U.S. national security and avoid strategic surprise. So we now know the mission of this task force, but again, by saying what the mission of the task force will be, she's demonstrating that the task force isn't a thing yet. But then what was she talking about back in May when she said the investigation of UAP sightings by the Multi-Agency Task Force is ongoing? Is that a different task force than the one allegedly being assembled? Why does the New York Times and the Intelligence Authorization Act for fiscal year 2021 indicate that the UAP task force is already operating, yet TTSA seems confident that its formation is just now being requested? Confusing. And it's not really surprising at this point. The government and the military have demonstrated time and time again that the one thing they're really good at is creating confusion. And what's up with the name? Even if this thing exists, we don't even know what the official name is. The only time we've seen it in writing is the Intelligence Authorization Act for fiscal year 2021. In that, it's mentioned twice. First, it's written as the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force, and then it's written as the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force. And Susan Gao's comments are no help here. She conveniently avoids using a specific name for the task force. She simply refers to it as a task force. Regardless of its name, or whether it's something active or currently in the works, its existence, or future existence, demonstrates that, at least on some level and to a certain degree, the government continues to have an active interest in UFOs, including data collection and data sharing. That's a good thing. That's a really good thing. But time will tell if the public benefits from any of that. But hopefully we'll get to see the fruits of the UAP Task Force's data collection, if it even exists.